Now, when you look at the papers that I'm going to be showing you, I'm using a report from a program called IBIS, I-B-I-S. It's produced out of California, and the company that produces it does it for the counseling sessions. I will explain to you, when you look at these numbers from IBIS, they are not going to be exactly what your lender shows you. Part of the problem for IBIS, as much as we like it, as much as we like to use it, we don't have the exact numbers that your lender's going to show. Sometimes the lender can send those numbers to us ahead of time to make it a little easier, but the reality is our numbers aren't going to necessarily match theirs. Keep this in mind as you look at the IBIS programs. And more importantly, if the IBIS software shows that there's a deficit, that you're going to come to the table owing money, my suggestion is contact your lender immediately. Talk to your lender. Find out for sure what your lender says about that money that you owe. Do you have to come to the table with money or not? Because quite frankly, sometimes that money is going to be necessary to close the loan. Sometimes it's not. You're going to need to know ahead of time, before you spend a lot of time and or money going through counseling, and whether or not you spend a lot of time with the lender. You want to find out for sure. Talk to your lender and get their opinion. If it's not going to turn out to work, the lender's not going to want to spend a lot of time working with you, and you're not going to waste a lot of time dealing with that. I will also tell you, as you go through these programs, that there are going to be times when you want to again talk to the lender. For example, you can ask the counselor about trusts and whether or not a trust is going to be useful for a reverse mortgage or not. The problem is the counselors, in most cases, are not a lawyer. I happen to be, and even I won't generally answer that question, whether or not a trust can work with this or not. And the reason I don't is because I don't know what the lender's attorney is going to do. The lender's attorney is going to make their own decision. If you have a trust, let your salesperson know right away that you have a trust so that they can send it to their legal department and get dealt with. You don't want to be handling that with the counselor. You want to be handling that through the attorney, and through the attorney for the lender, not the attorney for the counselor. Get that information directly from the attorney or from the lender. Along the similar lines, does a non-borrowing spouse have to be counseled or not? Under the protocols, non-borrowing spouses have to be counseled. They don't get a choice. If you are at all concerned about this, I recommend contact your lender. Ask the lender whether they should be counseled. Get the answer in writing. And the reason I say get it in writing, at least in Massachusetts where I live and practice, anything that has to do with land has to be in writing. If it's not in writing, it never happened. So you want that information to come to you in writing so that you can discuss it with the lender and have something in writing to rely on in the future if something changes. Particularly when it comes to non-borrowing spouses, because if you don't bring that non-borrowing spouse to counseling, the counselor may turn around and charge you for a second session for that non-borrowing spouse. You want to have that known ahead of time whether that's going to be necessary or not. You don't want to pay for counseling for 2 times or more to get someone else in there that you could have had in for the first time. By the way, counselors do charge. No offense, but as you can tell by looking at me, I like to eat. My family likes to eat, so therefore we have to charge for counseling. We cannot do it for free. Some agencies have grant money, but they're very rare anymore that they still have grant money to use. That's not a commonplace. Keep this in mind when you think about it, that we're going to charge. HUD usually sets the charge starting at around $125. However, $125 is a starting point. It's not an actual thing that you're going to worry about. Some agencies may charge more. All we have to be able to show to HUD is why that agency justifies charging more than it did when it started off with at $125. Again, keep this in mind. These are some of the things that you want to think about. Do you want your children present at the counseling? Again, that's your choice. Who you choose to have at the counseling with you is your choice. The only person that can't be present is the lender and the lender's agent. You can't have them present at the counseling because they're the ones that have a direct impact on whether or not you take this loan. Counselors are supposed to be neutral. We're not supposed to have a decision either way of whether you take the loan or not. We don't generally care. the lender generally will. So you're going to want to look at it from that perspective when you're dealing with that lender. Keep this in mind that anybody else can come with you. I would tell you also, no one should tell you who you can and cannot discuss this with. If you want to talk to your children, that's great. If you don't want to talk to your children, that's fine too. This is your business and your money. No one should limit who you can talk to about it except you. Keep that thought in mind as well.